Hello, and welcome to the Multi-Million Dollar Agent Show, where we help agents build, grow, and scale a multi-million dollar agency. I'm your host, Violet Rainwater, and I am joined today by my fabulous co-host, Rob Jacobman, and one of our game changers at ICA, Barb Ruppert. Welcome, team.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I wanted to start today with a powerful quote by Francis Bacon, one that we all know. Francis Bacon once said that knowledge is power. And today we are going to show you how to transform that knowledge to a lot of dollars. Today we are talking about how to exponentially grow your commercial book of business. Why? Because that's where the money is. And to get us started, we have Rob sharing one of his personal stories and the success he had just by focusing his efforts on selling to commercial clients.
Yeah. Hey, welcome everybody. You're in for a real treat because Barb is absolutely a superstar. She is. I have so much respect and I love what she's doing with her programs. Listen, this is something that's really critical if you're going to get into the commercial space and really explode your book of business. You definitely need someone like Barb on your side with some of the things that they are doing on the education. You cannot do this without having the knowledge and the experience to writing commercial accounts. You just can't. So who is this for? Today, I think this is for those agencies, producers, anyone who's looking to literally explode their commercial book of business. And, sometimes I'm going to share with you a personal story about how, so wherever you are, you could be, selling personal lines right now. You could be a captive agent. You could be independent, and maybe not comfortable with going after those commercial accounts. Wherever you are in your journey, this is going to be for you. Even if you're selling middle market, large accounts right now, you're going to get something out of today's show. I'm just going to share with you one of the things is I'm talking to agents across and producers across the country. The one thing that I've learned is that going into the commercial space, especially into that middle market space, where frankly, I think that's the best place to be. It can be very intimidating if you've never sold commercial insurance before, or if you've kind of only dabbled in it. And I think having Barb on here is so fitting and so appropriate because if you are feeling uncomfortable with that right now and you want to start getting into and really expanding your book of business, now is the best time. There's never been a better opportunity to really diversify your book of business, to grow your commercial side. I would love to just pick Barb's brain here and ask her, I'll share one real quick story. When I learned to really specialize in 2 to 3 key markets. Like for me, it was contractors, really on the artisan contractor side, manufacturing, and a little bit of technology. So I really focused on specializing. I think that was the real game changer for me, is by being super hyper focused on specific target markets and mastering that and becoming a true expert and a true trusted advisor. That's what made my book of business explode. And I think, Barb, you have so much experience in this area. If you could touch on what is the number one problem that is facing insurance agents and producers right now to really exploding their commercial book of business? Like, what have you found has been like the secret ingredient to success?
That's a great question, Rob. And really, the secret ingredient is to get rid of the fear. To me, commercial insurance is just personal lines on steroids.
And I love that. It really is.
It really is when you think about it. And, I think that once people get over that hump and realize that it is steroids, but also there's a lot more, and I hate to say this because you can be creative in personal lines, but commercial lines can really help you not only learn more, but really create something special for the client, because each business is different, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about that, you've got to think about, okay, what comes to mind, and how do I help this person overcome some of the stumbling blocks that they have for their business and grow as a business and be protected the way you should be.
Yeah.
I totally
Well, and I
agree.
have a question for both of you, because I think this is the differentiator. You know, we talk to agents nationwide, and we have some that only do personal lines, and we have some that, you know, are starting to dabble in commercial. But what is it about commercial? Like, why would somebody want to start focusing on commercial if that is yet something that they have walked into or started educating themselves on? Rob, you have a phenomenal story that you share, like from a revenue. Come on, let's talk dollars,
I can
guys. That's what this is about. Share with us how much you brought in 3 short months just by having a strategy and you were executing, just focusing on commercial clients. And then Barb, I'd love to hear why commercial from you as well.
Okay.
I can tell you a story. I brought in, and this is even shocking to me. You know, and I know there's bigger producers out there. There's guys who really go after some big stuff, but I was able to do around 115,000 just in new business revenue. Now that's not premium, that's revenue in less than 3 months by not only having a very specific strategy and a game plan, because I realized the only way that I'm going to be successful is if I hunker down and stay focused and master my trade.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would say today, tip number one for anyone who wants to get into, listen, you are not going to be the jack of all trades. When I talk to producers and they go, "Oh, I don't turn away any business. I take on everything." And I'll write that restaurant, I'll write that retail operation, I'll write that, you know, plumber. Listen, you can do that, but I really believe from my experience, especially the latter part of my career, where I had the greatest value for my potential insureds was me being an expert in those areas where I could write policies designed specifically to solve the problems and the issues and have a consultative process for my clients. So whenever I could, you know, imagine this, and this is going to be the hugest point to take away. Imagine this, you're up against the incumbent for a particular account. That individual doesn't have experience specifically at, let's use plumbers as an example. However, you decided to take Barb's how to write complex construction risks, or let's use contractors as an example. And you can actually say, listen, I know the pains that you have. I know the way your policies need to be written. I know the exposures. I know, listen, I have a lot of experience. I know it keeps you up at night. And you can articulate that to a business owner. What kind of advantage, strategic,
Yeah.
competitive advantage does that give you over the even an incumbent? Because we know how hard it is to win commercial accounts against an incumbent who, by the way, has all the markets cornered. You know, they listen. I've gotten BORs from potential, you know, for potential insureds just because I added that extra value and I created a consultative approach to helping them along the way to solve whatever pain points they had. It could be claims. It could be, hey, maybe they have the wrong class codes in their work comp policies. I know I'm getting granular here, but guys, that's where you're adding value to that relationship.
And Barb, as our educator, your team, this is where we differentiate, right? So we have instructor-led courses where we teach people how to sell commercials. So Barb, being the one that spearheaded this whole department and you have written out all the courses, like this is your specialty. Why commercial? Why would you say that's an insurance professional would want to incorporate commercial based on just the difference that you've seen from your students who have went from not selling commercial to now selling commercial?
That's wow. The biggest thing I've seen is, you know, they're looking to make more money. Yeah, we're in it for the money, right? We do look at that.
Thank you. That's why we're here. Let's just be
That's why
honest,
we do
friends.
what we do. You know, but it's funny because I have to think about Rob's story a little bit. And when I started in the industry, there was nothing like this in the whole wide world. You know, it was here's your books, here's your desk, here's your phone. And, you know, when I first started, I was really passionate about commercial. I wanted to learn about commercial. Personal lines was great, but it was all about the commercial. It was all about the risk. It was all about understanding, you know, and looking at how we can solve problems on a bigger scale. And when you're able to solve problems on a bigger scale, of course, the revenue generation is going to be a part of that, right?
Yes.
You're not just sitting there, you're engaging in your community, you're supporting your community, you're helping that community grow. And when I first started this program, I thought back really about where I was in the commercial space years ago. And I didn't have anybody to help me through the ropes. It wasn't anything like that. And Rob, it's funny that you say, niche marketing. It is so, so important. I had an agent that dabbled in commercial insurance that took the classes. He started off, well, let's get the basics, because I think once you understand the basics of the policies, the policy language, that's where it starts, right? So anyways, he calls me a year later, and the whole time we're going through this, I keep telling him, man, don't take everything off the street. You're never going to make money. You're going to get frustrated, and they're going to cause you a lot more grief than if you choose something that you really want to write. So fast forward a year, and he's calling me and he's like, man, I said, what's wrong? I took everything on the street and it wasn't worth it. I am spending too much time trying to renew things and things that I really shouldn't have written. Number one, because at the time I was thinking money on the table, which is important, but I didn't think about the costs in the long run.
Yeah.
On how much this was going to cost me through the course of the year.
Yeah.
And he said, I really should have listened to you. I really should have said, hey, these are the things I want to go after. I will become an expert at learning how to go after a certain niche market. And that's what we really engage our students in, is really thinking about, okay, you've gotten the basic knowledge. Now it's time to think about, where do you want to go next? We all have to start somewhere first, right, Rob?
Foundational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. You got to start smart. You got to write some small accounts, get some wins, right? Get some wins, learn how to, I think that will be less intimidating for you, is to work with someone who's I've always thought, listen, I've had phenomenal mentors over the years. I've had those who have said, listen, let me show you the ropes. Let me show you how to do this. And then I think once you learn how to do something once and you walk through that process and you actually do it, it becomes like second nature, right? It's like riding a bike. Eventually start to learn.
That's right.
And it's no different. A small commercial account is really no different than a large middle market account that is worth 20, 30, 40,000, 50,000 in revenue, not premium, to your bottom line. Because guess what? It's just more vehicles on the vehicle list. It's more property values. It's more, it's just the schedules are a lot larger, and there are some complexities and some nuances to it. But in general, it takes the same amount of time and effort to write a small account as it does a large account. So why not start building your book of larger accounts where you're going to make a heck of a lot more money. You're going to be able to give an incredible customer experience and a real consultative process and a path to help them achieve their goals. And that's really what I did in the latter part of my career. And it worked out really well.
I'm really glad to hear that, because, I think you can even niche market on the small business.
Yeah.
And I like to think about that more so, guys, as like training wheels. It is, like I said, personalized on steroids, but also when you start out small and you specialize in something, you're going to understand that business. And business owners are looking for that. And one thing that I've coached our students on when they go in there, and especially if they're new to it, is ask them about their business, right? Because they're going to tell you, this is their pride and joy. This is their baby.
That's true. It is their baby. It is their baby.
It is. And out of that, you're going to really glean and understand what that particular business is. So let's take a contractor, for example. You go in, he's a small guy, he's got it going on. You figured out, okay, small business, maybe it's a $2,000 to $3,000 premium. He's just starting out. But you got to change your mindset a little bit because he's going to grow.
Yeah.
And if you can develop that relationship, become that trusted advisor, right? You're going to be able to help him grow his business by protecting his business.
Yes.
And then you're going to have the guy off the street who comes in because now your account's worth what, maybe 10 to 15 grand. It's not a lot of revenue when you think about that, what, 20% on that. But when you think about it, that incumbent's going to come in, or not the incumbent, but that other agent. Do they have the knowledge? Do they understand the business needs? You know, they're going to come in and say, oh, I can do all this, and I'm going to bring you a bag of chips. But when the rubber hits the road, as the advisor to that customer, understanding what that plumbing business is about, understanding those exposures, and making sure that you're meeting the needs of that client, not only with the changing business, but also with changing insurance products. Because as his business grows, his product needs going to change as well. So that's one of the other things that I love to talk to the students about is, okay, pick a small niche.
Yeah.
Work through that, learn that business from top to bottom. And then we're going to help you along the way, because we're also, as part of our program that I wished I had had years ago when I first started in the industry, was really thinking about the ins and outs of the business itself. Not just, okay, you're a plumber, you come in, you fix my bathroom or my kitchen sink, and then out you go, right? But really learning how to address the risks that they have. And
like a trusted advisor. You know, much more than just an insurance salesperson. I actually had the privilege of sitting down on Friday with one of our superstar agents, speaking of niching. So this is Mike and Marcy Valdez. They've been in the business 30 years, guys. Like, they focus on commercial and they have this phenomenal strategy. So Mike and Marcy love going out to eat. So they focus on restaurants, and they have this strategy that they do. They'll go to a restaurant 4 or 5 times. They make sure they meet the owner of the restaurant. They make sure they tip extremely well. And then what they do is they simply start building that relationship. And that's how they've been able to build relationships. And they have clients. They actually got out of the business for a little while. They got back into the business, I think like 7 or 8 years later. We're actually going to have them on the show to share their story. But because their relationships were so deep, and they have such a flawless system when it comes to, you know, the niche marketing, as well as making sure that they build those relationships, people started calling them. All of their old clients came back to them. So it didn't take them long at all. And what I love about what they do is they don't focus on, you know, trying to write 100 or 200 different businesses. They have like 30 to 40 businesses that they have deep relationships with. And those are the people that send them referrals and that they stay with them no matter what, because those relationships are so strong, because they have niched and they know the restaurant business inside and out. So, you know, you don't have to choose contracting. You can choose something that you have a passion for. Maybe you have a passion for dance. Maybe you want to look at dance studios or, you know, bars, whatever it is. You can choose something that you want to support, and then you can become an expert on it using Barb and her education team.
Yep, 100%. I love it. You know, the other thing too is making sure that you have, and this is an important thing, Barb, you know, you often talk about this, is having the whole, I was a big fan of programs, right? Saying like, listen, I can design a program because I have the right markets, I have the right strategy, I have the right service plan and mentality, helping them to really solve problems and their goals. The other thing, the other cool part of this is, here's tip number 2 or 3, is you can also start to build your centers of influence around you that match up really well with the type of client that you're trying to attract. For example, there are attorneys, there are CPAs that specialize in construction or contracting. Those are the ones that I used to reach out to and partner with and say, or even go to your insured and say, hey, who's your CPA? Who's your attorney? Because we should all be on the same page. I would like to meet them. And then you can then start to build and nurture a relationship with your insureds, also their trusted advisors. And you then can start to build some referral type relationships that, my gosh, that's where business goes exponential, is when you start to add this value to those relationships and then you start expanding your network. This becomes like, oh, Rob's the go-to for, fire protection contractors, or Rob's the go-to for traffic contractors. It's literally happens that fast. You
Yep.
can not only grow your book of business fast, but you can also really go deep with those relationships. And I think that's a real takeaway today too.
It, it
Absolutely.
it really is. It really is. You have to. And what people don't think about is with those setters of influence within that sphere is they've got a handle on it. And that's a great way when you think about marketing and growing that, because as these guys get bigger and they grow their businesses, that sphere of influence also increases as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
And, so you can capitalize on that, not only from writing those accounts, because even with an accountant or a lawyer, there can be some hefty premiums along with that as well. When you think about not only the package business, but the errors and omissions, the professional liability. But
Yes.
then also you've got that third connection of saying, hey, Bob, I didn't realize that you were using Joe as your attorney.
Mhm.
He's a great job. He's done a great job. Start building that relationship with Bob, the electrician. And
Yeah.
pretty soon, Bob, the electrician's going to say, oh, you know what? I've got, Sam over here who's the plumber and he can help you. And then, oh, by the way, you need insurance. Well, here, let you
Yep.
talk to, Rob, our, 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 our
Go to.
agent.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job,
Yeah.
so that
That's
is
money.
so important. And it's such a foundational thing that we think about, but it takes practice, it takes time, and it does take energy. But in the long run, when you sit down and look at it, what are we giving to people and where do we spend our time? And it's really developing and growing those relationships.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
how your education team can help, Barb. So I'm excited. Will you just share with us why ICA Education Team? Because nobody does what we do. I know there's other groups and master agencies that have education, but no one has what you came up with. So can you share with us a little bit what our education team, how they help agents, how we differentiate, and how we are helping agents build, grow, and scale through the power of knowledge?
Yeah, it's my passion. It is absolutely my passion. I found when I first came to ICA that a lot of our agents were more of that personal lines agent that wanted to dabble in commercial insurance, but they didn't quite know how to get there. And
Yeah.
so that's where our program was born, was really helping folks understand, you know, this is what I need to know before I can go talk to people. You can market things all day long, but if you're not comfortable in what you're doing, you're never going to be able to be a success, right? So what I created was really a program to introduce agents to commercial lines. And it's not for the faint of heart. Um, but in the long run, the time spent is well worth it because we start at the ground level. We
Yeah.
just don't start with, okay, this is it in a nutshell. We spend a solid 18 sessions to 19 sessions working with our students on learning commercial insurance. And it's not so much about, oh, it's easy. It's more of let's learn the nuances, let's understand coverages. Let's be able to read a policy form. Let's learn about that business. Let's figure out how we communicate with that customer.
Yeah.
It's so funny because a lot of folks starting out think that, oh, I'll just email my quote over to that customer and they commoditize it. And you can't do that. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest lessons that we've taught our folks is, we've all been agents. My
Yeah.
team are all tenured agents. They've spent their time working on accounts, working with people, and we're able to navigate that student through some of those complexities, not only of the products themselves or the risk, but also how to nurture that relationship, how to present that sale. So that's kind of where it started. And that's been our platform for the last 8 years now. And as we continue to grow, we realize that, agents are not going to just be satisfied looking at the basics. now we've got to figure out how to help them with the sales process and the marketing. So we incorporated that into our process. And it's really more about, you know your product, you know your customer, but let's talk about relationships.
Yeah.
Let's talk about different generations, how to approach those, you know, how to position the sale, how to close that sale.
It's like you help them every step of the way. That's how I explain our education team is like, look, it's scary out there by yourself, but with Barb and her team, they take your hand and they're with you every step of the way. One of our agents, Jason Anderson, like he personally told me this. This isn't something that I heard through the grapevine, but he goes, you know, there were times where I walked into an opportunity and I didn't know what the heck I was looking at, but I brought it back to Barb's team. And because of their help, because they held my hand every step of the way, I was able to identify gaps that I would not have known how to identify. And I was able to earn that business. So I think that's what differentiates us. You know, it is scary and it is complex. And I never sold commercial. And when I hear about it, I'm just like, oh my God, you know, but what makes us different is that we hold your hand throughout the entire process. And I know, Barb, we got some amazing courses coming up. Can you share with us, as we wrap it up here, can you share with us just some of these courses that we have that are coming up, and how do we get people, how can people sign up to work with you and your team?
That's fabulous question. We do have a lot coming up. I actually have what I like to call my comprehensive commercial lines class that really walks you through A to Z. We also have a couple of classes that focus on workers' comp, general liability, property insurance, and the coup de grace of everything is we do have what we call our complex account coming up as well. And that one's focused on garages. And this is really built for a producer that's been at it for a while and wants to take that step from going from that small commercial book into that middle market, and really looking at larger accounts with a lot more exposure, and how do we grow with that. And it's really easy to sign up for these classes. All you need to do is go to ICA Insurance Education.com.
We have it right here on the board, guys, right below.
Click on that. It will actually take you to our homepage. It'll show you the classes that we have available, but also as you scroll down, it's got our monthly calendar. Go ahead and just click on the class you want to join. It'll take you to your shopping cart. We'll have our instructor reach out to you as soon as we get the notification that you've signed up, and we'll walk you through the steps of the process on what that class is going to look like, and get you enrolled. Very simple process.
That's
so
awesome.
You too can, Rob, that was in 90 days. You brought in 110,000 in premium, correct?
115.
Oh, sorry.
Let's be clear about that.
So you too,
that extra 5 made a difference.
It does.
That means if you guys begin this, and I believe these are all starting in April. So by April, May, June, that means by July, by third quarter, friends, you can bring in an additional 6 figures in premium. Yes. So if you are looking to exponentially grow your book of business, this is the best way that we can support you, whether you are an agent with us or whether we now are offering this nationwide. It doesn't matter if you're captive or you're part of another team, you can have access to the ICA education team simply by signing up and utilizing Barb and her team's services. So thank you guys for today. Thank you, Rob, as always. Thank you, Barb, for jumping in. I call her the differentiator because this is what separates us from all the competition out there. Friends, we're going to be back next Tuesday. Make sure to mark your calendars so you can learn more on how to build, grow, and scale your multi-million-dollar book of business. You guys have a great week.
Awesome. Take care. Thanks, Barb. You're amazing.